Improving the way you learn and your memory obviously improves your grades in school, but also it's something important to carry with you throughout your life. Because when you can remember things better and learn things quickly, you can excel at your jobs. You can excel at parenting or your skills or your hobbies later in life. Things like time management and organization and social emotional learning all contribute to improving the way you learn things and improving your memory. So today, we're simply going to cover tips and tricks to help you learn better, to help you learn more effectively, and to help you remember things better. So the first tip is pretty simple. Stay alert. Take a few deep breaths before you're trying to learn something new. The next tip is to focus. And what you can do to help focus is just simply focus by staring at the wall or a point in space for 30 to 60 seconds. That will help you get ready to focus better. The next tip is simply repeat. Remember, neurons that fire together wire together. So, learning and memory is all about repetition, just like with sports or other skills in life. The next tip is to lean into mistakes. Learn from your mistakes. Don't shy away from mistakes and failure because that's how the brain learns. So you want to embrace mistakes. The next tip is to take breaks in between your learning sessions. Short breaks scattered throughout your day will help the brain relax and retain information better. So if you've been studying for 20, 30, 40 minutes and you feel like you need a little break, take it. Or if you need a break sooner, take it. Take a couple minutes, relax, go get a drink, forget about what you're doing, and then get back to your learning. The next tip is to reward yourself. And this one may seem funny, but it actually works. Simply telling yourself you're doing a good job, or you're learning this material, or it may be tough, but you're going to get it, actually helps you to learn the material better, helps you to remember the material better, and it helps you to stay motivated. And the final tip is to sleep well. And remember, back to neuroplasticity, that's when the magic happens. When you sleep, that's when your brain forms new connections. That's when you really lock in the new material in those memories. And in terms of memories and remembering things better, I want to talk about 3 specific techniques. And the first technique is called a memory palace. And that's simply associating material that you're trying to learn with some place or room in your house that you already know. So, for example, let's just say I need to remember some foods. I need to memorize potatoes, marshmallows, cheese and crackers. What I would do for my memory palace is I would visualize my living room, and I would visualize my couch, the end table, and the fireplace. Because think of couch potato. So I can remember the word potatoes with the couch. And sometimes I serve cheese and crackers on the end table. So I would remember the end table for the cheese and crackers, and then I roast marshmallows over the fire. So then I would remember fireplace for the marshmallows. So this is just a simple illustration, an example of how you can take something like an existing room in your house and then associate new material or new things that you need to memorize with that existing memory. Because it's just going to be that much easier to remember the new material if you tie it into or associate it with the existing material that's already wired into your brain. And it may sound silly, but it actually works. You're able to better associate a new memory with an existing memory by combining them, which is actually the next tip in terms of learning something better. It is association. And that's essentially what you do in the memory palace. You create a vivid image in your mind and you associate that image with something that you're trying to remember. So for example, let's just say you're trying to remember a name and the person's name is Rose. So what you want to do is you want to picture a rose on their head. And that way, I know it sounds funny, but you'll actually remember their name better by visualizing that rose on their head. Which brings me to the final tip, which again flows from what we just talked about. And that final tip is visualization. But it's a little bit different than the memory palace and association, because when you visualize something, you essentially just visualize that particular thing. Like in science class, if you're trying to learn about evaporation, you just visualize water particles floating upward. Or if you're trying to learn the entire water cycle, picture water particles floating up and water particles coming down in the form of rain, and condensation as a fun cartoon. Again, that will help you to remember the new material better because you have vivid images in your mind. So, when you're trying to learn new material, when you're studying, trying to remember things, remember these tips. Use these tips because they've been shown to help you improve your learning and improve your memory.